Hello everyone. Today I thought that I would do an overview video where I talk about all of the new makeup and skincare that I've been interested in that has been released during the spring and early summer. And it's kind of been seeming like it has been a little bit on the slow side for releases this year and that there hasn't been all that much that I've been interested in. But as I look back over the past 3 months or so, it does seem like there's a number of things that are worth talking about and that in some cases I have already really enjoyed using. And so first, a little bit of information about me. I am 60 years old and I have dry and very sensitive skin, and I've never had any kind of cosmetic procedures like injections or surgery, and I'm not really intending to do that. And so my goal in terms of using makeup and skincare is to find things that can help me to look a little bit fresher and maybe even a little bit younger without resorting to having to go to extremes for that. And one thing that I have found is that there are certain ingredients that always do irritate my very sensitive skin. And I know that those ingredients tend to be very irritating for many other people as well. And so I just don't talk about those products on this channel. And so first I made a list of some of the products that I would be interested in trying if they didn't have those kinds of ingredients in them. And so the products on this list, a lot of them have fragrance in them. Some of them have chemical sunscreens or sunscreen boosters, which are basically just unregulated chemical sunscreens. And some of them have aluminum powder in them, and that is a form of aluminum that does penetrate really easily into the skin and that does cause irritation to my skin, and so that is another ingredient that I do avoid. And so before we get started, I thought I would bring up the new Facebook group that is associated with this channel. And the name of the group, at least for the time being, is 40 Plus Beauty with Lisa Petrison. And so if you are on Facebook and if you are interested, then I hope to see you there. And so let's go in alphabetical order by brand. And so the first brand is Anastasia Beverly Hills, or ABH. And so they have a couple of new products that I have looked into. So the first one is the Smooth Blur Cream Contour Stick for $32. This comes in 4 different shades, and it is a silicone-based product. And it does look like this is really just a pretty gray contour stick. And in general, my feeling is that I tend not to really want to use contour very much because I think that at this point in my life that I really don't want my skin to look more gaunt, and it also is the case that I tend not to want my face to look artificial at all. And so I'm not all that interested in that product, but I do think that in terms of the ingredient list that it looks like it might be okay for people. And then ABH is also releasing some blush trios. These are $38. And again, I think that the ingredient list for these look like they are okay. They look like they probably wouldn't be irritating for me. So I probably will look at it when I go to Sephora the next time, but I may not be that interested in actually picking it up. And then Alpyn Beauty is a brand of skincare that I really like, as long as the products do not have fragrance in them. And so I did just start trying out this particular product. This one was actually sent to me by Alpyn Beauty, but I have bought an awful lot of products from Alpyn Beauty in the past, and so I was really interested in trying this one out. And this is called the Super Sculpt Serum, and it is $62. And so some of the ingredients that are in this product include peptides and sodium hyaluronate and 2 fermented ingredients and prickly pear extract, which is like an anti-aging type of a natural ingredient. And then there's also lactic acid in this. And so far I've been really good with this. I think that this is a very nice little product, and my skin has not reacted to it at all. And Armani has a line of liquid blushes. These are called the Luminous Silk Cheek Tint Blushes. They are $39. And I did pick up one of the matte versions of these last year, and I thought that it was okay, but not one that I have used all that much. And so now they came out with some shimmer versions of those, and I did try at least one of those out the last time that I went to Sephora. And again, I thought that that formula was okay, but not one that I'm really excited about, and so probably I won't pick that one up. But it does look like the ingredient list is fine, and I haven't found that to be irritating for my skin at all. And then Armani has a mascara, and this is called the Vertigo Lift Mascara. And this is available in a small container as well as the full size, and it's only available in black. And so I do have a lot of mascaras around that I even haven't tried out yet that I do want to try out. And I'd be a little bit interested in trying this one out if I were to get like a sample of it. But in general, I don't know that I've heard so many good things about this mascara that it makes me that interested in using it. And then Axiology is a company that sells through Credo, and they are very much into sustainability as well as really clean and natural ingredients. And so their newest product that they released is called Foundation, and it's a mushroom foundation, and it is $42. And so I actually did pick this up during the last Credo sale. And it's a cream foundation, and it has some creamy type ingredients in it, including some mushroom extracts and almond oil and cocoa butter. And I have tried this on, and I don't think it's been irritating for me. And I think it's more like a concealer, really, a light concealer. And I think that it's looked okay on me, but I haven't shot it on camera, and I haven't looked really carefully in terms of how it has held up on my face. And so I would like to do that. But in general, I think that it hasn't been too bad. And in general, I do like also the fact that this is just a cardboard container. And so from a sustainability point of view, this is actually a really good product too. One powder foundation that was redone this year is the Bare Minerals Bare Pro 24-Hour Skin Perfecting Powder Foundation. And so this was a foundation that I think was reformulated a couple of years ago, and I don't think people liked that very much, and so they decided to give it another go. And the shade that I picked up is Fair 15 Neutral, and I think that this is a pretty good shade for my skin tone, and so I haven't tried it as much as I would like before actually reviewing it, but this is one option. And then Benefit is a company that I haven't had a whole lot of success with in the past, but I do tend to just keep an eye on their new releases that they are bringing out. And so one of the products that I took a look at was the Glow La La highlighter, which is $38. And there have been several companies this year that have released new powder highlighters. And so I did compare this one to the Nars highlighter that was just released at Ulta one day. And I thought that both of these were fairly similar and that they both had kind of a sparkly quality to them. They remind me a lot of like an eyeshadow topper. So for instance, the Urban Decay eyeshadow toppers, or the ones that are in the Makeup by Mario Ethereal Eyes type palettes, or the one that was released last year by Patrick Ta. I think that all of those do have this really fine but super like shimmery pearls in it, and I think that this is actually quite similar to that, and I kind of feel like maybe that's just a little bit too shimmery for me to put on my face, and I really am looking for highlighters that look a little bit more natural than that. But I certainly think it's very pretty, and I think that this was wearable for me, and I didn't have any issue with it causing irritation in my skin when I did try it out. And then they also have a new bronzer, and this is called the Hula Wave Cream Bronzer Balm for $36. This is available in 5 different shades, and this is like a moisturizing product, so it has a hyaluronic acid and avocado oil in it. And I did try this out briefly in the store one day, and I don't think it was irritating for me, and I think it was okay. But I think that I might take another look at this because I want to see what the shades are and to get a better sense of whether these shades might be work out for me. And then I think early in the year they released a brow pen, and this is called the Benefit Mighty Fine Brow Pen for $28. And I actually tried that out in Sephora one day, and that actually did cause irritation to my eyebrow area. And then Bobbi Brown also came out with a new line of blush, and so this is called the Pot Rouge Velvet Matte Cream Blush for $36, and it is available in different shades, and so it comes in a little pot like this, and unlike the previous Pot Rouge that they had, this one does not have any fragrance in it, so I was really happy about that. And I do like the texture of this. I do think that it goes on my skin really easily. It is made in Korea, and like a lot of products from Korea, it does have a little bit of a whipped and easygoing texture that I think blends in very nicely. And this shade is called Tea Rose, and I do really like this shade on me too. And I think it's very natural and really pretty. And then most of the products that Chanel brings out, they do have either fragrance or sunscreen or aluminum powder in them, and so there are very few products from Chanel that I'm able to use. But they did come out with a blush this year that is appropriate for me in terms of it not having fragrance or anything in it. And so I did pick up one of these shades, and so this is called the Le Beige Healthy Golden Glow Powder for $75. So it is a powder, a blush, and a highlighter combination. And I actually picked up the one that is, I think, more intended for sort of darker skin tones, maybe for a golden type skin tone, just because I was interested in these shades. And so the one that I picked up is called Soleil Couchant, and I would say that this is kind of an orange brownish blush with a gold highlighter. And I think that this blush has worked out really well for me. I think it's been a very nice blush for my skin tone. And that gold highlighter, that's a little bit too much for my skin tone, but I have used it on my eyes as a really quick eyeshadow, and I think that that has been kind of pretty too. And so I do think it's been nice for the summer, and I think it may be the case that especially for the fall that this will be a really pretty palette. And this is also available in the name is called Eclat du Soir, and that is a cool pink with a more of like a peach type highlighter, and I think that one looks pretty also. And then Chanel also has a foundation that I like, which is called Le Beige Water Fresh Complexion Touch, and this is $70. And this is one of those foundations that has like a clear base and the little balls of pigment, and so you are supposed to take your brush and really blend the balls of pigment in together before brushing it on your face. And I think that that is a nice product from them, and that it does have a fair amount of pigment in it, so even if you're looking for a little bit of coverage, that one may work for you. And it doesn't have any fragrance in it, and I think my skin has been okay with it, and I think it does look very nice on my skin. And so that is a foundation that I do feel able to use, and there are 10 new shades on that foundation. And then another company that has come out with a bunch of new skin tones in their foundation is Chantecaille, and they also actually did reformulate this. And so it used to have cyclic silicones in it, and I think that that has become a real problem when you're selling things in Europe. And not so much because it is bad for the skin, but because people have decided that cyclic silicones are worse for the environment than regular silicones. And last year, Chantecaille took their Just Skin Tinted Moisturizer and they redid it. And I actually really like the new version. That is actually one of my favorite foundations. And so I do have some optimism about this new version from Chantecaille. And so this new version, it has regular silicones in it still, but no cyclic silicones, and in addition it has some moisturizing ingredients in it that are similar, it looks like, to hyaluronic acid, but they are more on the natural botanical type side. So for instance, a duckweed. And there is some algae in that, and that does make me a little bit nervous because I worry that algae can be contaminated. And so the new version of this, it's $95, which is $5 more than the older version. And I am interested in that. I do have this version that is alabaster, and I think that that is actually a really good shade for me. And then in addition, Chantecaille makes a line of liquid blush, and these are called the Cheek Gelées, and these are $49, and they did redo these blushes again, and they do not have the cyclic silicones in them anymore, and so I am a bit more interested in that. And there are 3 new shades that are available also, and so all in all, I am interested in finding out how those compare to other liquid type blushes that I have liked. And then I haven't seen anyone at all talk about this, but the lipstick that I am wearing today is a brand new shade of lipstick that is in the Lip Veil line. And the Lip Veil line from Chantecaille is the one that does not include any kind of fragrance in it. And I have really liked these quite a lot. And so the shade that I picked up, this is called Flame Lily, and it is called a Deep Scarlet. And it is only available on the Chantecaille website, apparently. But I am looking for lipsticks that are red, but that are more wearable red. And so I thought that I would pick this one up. And so in case some people are interested, I put the new shade of the Lisa Eldridge lipstick that's a red shade, which is in the color Lily, on my hand. And so I thought we could compare that to the new shade that is called Flaming Lily. And so it does seem to me that the Lily one definitely leans a little bit more brownish and orange, and that the Flaming Lily one leans just a little bit more towards being like a cherry red, but muted. And then in addition, they reformulated their lip gloss. So this is called the Brilliant Lip Gloss, and it is $43. And it does look like they entirely redid the formula. And in addition, they brought out a couple new shades. And it looks like the shades have more of kind of a sparkle in them than they did before. And so these new lip glosses have an ethyl vanillin flavor to them, and that's something that I'm never really that crazy about. And in terms of looking at the ingredient list, it also seems to be the case that these look like they have ingredients that are probably more going to be like a glossy type of a lip gloss and not all that moisturizing. And then Charlotte Tilbury has several new products that have been released over the past few months. And so probably the one that has been the most interesting to people is the new Unreal Blush Healthy Glow Sticks. And so these are available in 6 different shades. And I actually just got this one right before I started filming this video. And so the only thing that I've done with it so far is to just take it and put a little bit of it on my cheeks, like doll cheeks type of blush. And I think that this one is actually seems really nice, but I can't tell you much about it because I haven't tried it out very much. So the shade that I got is called Cherry Glow, and so this is a reddish color, and I do think that it is very, very pretty. And then it also comes in 5 other shades, including peach, pink, lavender, berry, and a rosy shade. But in terms of the formula for this blush, I think that it's so far so good. I do like the way that it feels on me, and I do think that this reddish color is kind of pretty as well. And then there also are 2 new pencils from Charlotte Tilbury. So the first one is called the Super Nudes Lip Cheat Contour Duo Lip Liner for $26. And there are 4 different versions of this. And so the idea with this pencil is that it has 2 different shades of pencil on it. And so one of them is more of like a brownie type shade, and then one of them is a little bit more pinky. And so in theory, you can use the brownie type shade to line around your lips and to give a little bit more contour to the lips. And then the more pink shade is supposed to be a fill shade. And the good thing about this is that it doesn't have any cottonseed oil in it, and I think that their regular lip pencils do have cottonseed oil in them, and so I did find that to be a little bit irritating. And this one does not have any cottonseed oil, and I'm not finding this to be irritating for my lips. And I think it goes on kind of okay compared to other lip pencils that I have. I do feel like one of the ends of these when I was filling, I think this side, when I was filling it in, it did break off almost immediately. A little piece of it broke off. And so that makes me a little bit concerned about how well it's going to hold up in general. But I think it's been okay, and I need to keep using this, and maybe I will be able to figure out how to make it work in a way that can make me really enthusiastic about it. But I think it's fine so far. And supposedly this contains some peptides in it, and so conceivably that could be a good thing in terms of helping the lips to look a little bit more plumper and to look a little bit more attractive and to be more moisturized conceivably. And then the other pencil that they released is an eyeliner pencil. And so this one is called Rock and Coal Eyeliner Pencil, and it is $32, and there are 6 shades available. And so I purchased one that is a dark blue, and this one is called Sapphire Nights. And so there is one side that is the pencil, and then there is the other side that is a smudging brush. And I do like having a little smudger on the end of a pencil in terms of convenience, so I do like that about this pencil. And what I feel like is that this reminds me really strongly of the Lisa Eldridge pencil and also the Victoria Beckham pencil. And I think that both of those pencils are very similar to one another. And I think that this one is quite similar also. And like those other pencils, this is made in Germany. And so my suspicion is that this does come from the same factory. And like those other pencils, this does go on pretty thick, so it's hard to make a really muted type of a line. You're really going to make a kind of a more dramatic eye look, at least with this shade, or probably with most of these other shades. So for me, it really is more like an evening type of a look. I do feel like, as was the case with those other two pencils, that this one is very slightly irritating to my eyes, and so that is a negative. So I don't think that it has irritated my eyes enough that I absolutely wouldn't be able to wear it, but I do feel like my eyes feel more tired and not in the best shape if I do wear this all day. And then I guess before I became interested in makeup, Charlotte Tilbury had a really popular palette that was called Nudegasm, and so they decided to bring this out as a re-release. And this sold out from the Charlotte Tilbury site almost immediately, so I did order this, and now I'm not sure if I want to keep it or maybe like sell it because it is totally sold out on the site, and I'm not sure if they're going to get it back in. But I will say that I've heard really good things about this palette. And I do think that it would be interesting to play with it. I do think that that brown shade in here really looks like it's probably too dark for me to use on my face, but perhaps I could use it as an eyeshadow or an eyeliner. So let's take a look at this. And this is still listed on the Charlotte Tilbury site, and it says that if you put down your email that they will get in touch with you when it comes back into stock, so maybe we will see it again. And then in addition, Charlotte Tilbury came out with a bunch of new shades in their Hollywood Contour Wand for $42. And so in the past, there was only a shade that would have been much too dark for me. And so now there is a lighter shade. And I did try that out at the store. And I think that if I were going to be contouring my face and I wanted sort of a medium amount of contouring, and I wanted it to be something that would really blend easily, I think that that could be one that I could try. It's definitely way too gray or way too neutral for me to use as a bronzer, but if you're looking to be contouring your face, then I think that that is one that might work out. And I do tend to still keep an eye on the Credo site. And so one thing that I noticed going on at Credo is that they are starting to stock some products from Sweet Beauty. And in addition, Nordstrom is now selling some products from Sweet Beauty. And then Credo also has a little lash mascara kit, which is called Jet Set Lash. And this is $30, and you get, it looks like 6 mini mascaras. So there is the Tower 28 one from Ilia, one from Gen C, which is brown, one from RMS, one from Iris and Romeo, and one from Eri Perez. And then you also get a sample of their mini One Love Organics Botanical Bee Enzyme Cleansing Oil and Makeup Remover. And I actually like that product, and I actually did use up a whole bottle of that product at one point. It does smell like pineapples, and it seems to me to be clearly an authentic, real pineapple scent to it. And they are saying that that is a $96 value for $30. And then they also are offering 2 other kits of minis for $40. And so that is something that some people might be interested in as well. And then Danessa Myricks has a new palette, and this is called the Mini Pastel Dream Freedom Palette for $48. And this one did sell out really, really fast. And so it does look like they're planning to get this one in again. And so the colors in this palette, there are 3 mattes and 3 shimmers. And I think that these are quite bright, and I actually did look at one of the palettes at Sephora, and it looks like each of those shimmer shades actually has like a shift in it. And so it's not just that it is a shimmery eyeshadow, it's actually one that is quite bright and attention-getting. And so I don't think that palette is probably right for me, but it certainly was very popular. And then in addition, they have some new eyeshadow sticks. It looks like Color Fix sticks. And I haven't tried this one, and I haven't seen reviews, and so I'm not sure what to think of that one. And I've been looking for makeup removers that double as cleansers, and so I do see that there is a new one from Dieux, and this is called the Ethereal Cleansing Oil, and it is $28. And this is a popular brand of skincare at Sephora these days. And I do see that this particular cleansing oil does have some PEGs in them. And the thing that I know about those PEGs is that those can help the makeup remover to be rinsed cleanly off the skin without having to do a second cleanse. And so that does make me a little bit interested in that. And so I would like to give that a try, either by picking it up or just picking up a sample and seeing how it works for me. And then Dior has a line of powder blushes in their Backstage line, and these are called the Rosy Glow Powder Blush, and they reformulated them, I think, last year or the year before, and they made them really unusable. So I did buy one of those just to see if I could use it, and it was really something that I wasn't even really able to pick up out of the pan. And so that was kind of frustrating, but they did reformulate them again this year, and I think that this has been much more successful. And so there are 7 shades, and so I picked up one that is called Toffee, which is the lightest shade, and it's kind of on the neutral side. And I really like this one. It has kind of a lot of brown in it, and it is just a tiny little bit shimmery, but I don't think it's very shimmery. I think it's maybe along the lines of the RMS blushes, maybe a little bit less shimmery than those actually. But I do think that this is a really pretty color on me, and so for that reason I would be interested in going to Sephora and swatching some more of these shades to see if there are any others that I feel really enthusiastic about. But I do feel like in terms of their going on, that they do go on really, really nicely now, and that it is not hard to pick up any of the product, but that they do go on just in a really pretty way. And it looks like on the case that you can see the product through the lid, but in actuality it has a little mirror in here. And the other thing that I will say about this is that this does have a pretty strong scent of raspberries, and so they list on the ingredient that it has raspberry ketones in it, and I do believe that this is a natural scent. It smells like a natural scent to me, and it lists it as being a natural scent. And I don't think that's a problem. I don't mind that scent at all, but some people just don't like a smell at all in their blush. But I think that this has been a very nice blush, and I like the fact that it is such a small compact, and so it does fit really easily into my makeup bag, and so far it's been in nice shape. And then the other product that I purchased from Dior recently was an eyeshadow palette, and so they have a line of eyeshadows that are called 5 colors, and so they are part of their regular Dior line. And a lot of the palettes in that line do have aluminum powder in at least one of the shades, and it is a little bit difficult to pick up and figure out which of those palettes do versus don't have aluminum powder in them. But I was really interested in this particular new line, both because neither of these palettes in this particular set have aluminum powder in them, and because I did like the colors of this particular one, and because I was really interested in the embossing on this. So let me show this to you. And so I do know that this embossing on here, it's just an overlay. And so as soon as you use this particular eyeshadow, this embossing will be gone immediately. And so in this particular line, there are 2 different shades. So one is called Coral Riviera, which is this one, and then there's also one that is called Pink Riviera. And if you're interested in this, then I would just advise you to not think about any of the other ones that were released recently, because it looks like all of those do have aluminum powder in them. And so the ones that do seem to have aluminum powder in them are the Silk Taupe, Curl Couture, Rose Organza, and Brown Cashmere. And Drunk Elephant has a couple of new products. So first of all, there is one that is called the Plump C Tripeptide Lippy Mask with Vitamin C for $28. So this is a lip mask that you put on with your fingers. And I'm not always that crazy about those. And On the other hand, I do really like their lippy stick that comes in a stick. I think that that has been really nice for my lips, and because of that reason, I might be a little inclined to try this new product out. And in terms of the ingredients that are in this new product, it includes marula oil, shea butter, avocado oil, mango butter, apricot kernel oil, some peptides, some sodium hyaluronate, and some vitamin C, and some lactic acid. And then in addition, they have a new hydration serum, which is called Amino Rain Glass Water Serum for $58. And it has 4 different types of hyaluronic acid in it. And then it also has an ingredient in it that is supposed to stimulate collagen production. And I am not sure that I feel comfortable with all the ingredients that are on the list for this particular product, but I will see if I can give this one a try in Sephora to see if it feels okay for me or not. And then one of my very favorite makeup products of all are the Eadem Le Chouchou lip balms. These are $24, and they were released for the first time last year in 5 different colors. And so they came out with a new shade in this one, and it is called Guava. And I would say that it's kind of a warm pink, and that it does have a taste in it that does taste like guava, and it does seem to be really authentic guava flavor, and so I do really like this new shade, and I've been getting a lot of use out of it, and I do think that pink is a really pretty color in this. And that was one of my favorite products of all of last year, and that was an easy choice. I really do like these lip balms quite a lot. Estee Lauder has a foundation that a lot of people like that is called Double Wear, and I have tried that in the store on a couple of different occasions, and I do find that to be quite irritating for my skin. It doesn't have a scent in it, but it manages to have so many ingredients in it that it does cause irritation anyway. But they have a new concealer, and this is $38. It's available in 30 shades, and I did try this out at Ulta, and I think that this one was okay for me, so I didn't feel like I needed to go ahead and purchase it. But I do think this is wearable and that it didn't cause irritation, and I think that even in the context of my wrinkles, it didn't look too bad. And so I actually am interested in getting that, and maybe I will wait and see if I can get it on sale. And then Farmacy, which is owned by Procter & Gamble, they reformulated their most popular product. I think it's their most popular product, which is called Green Clean. And so in the past, it included some PEGs in the formula. And so the idea that I think that made this so successful is that you could use this product to remove your makeup, and then that you didn't have to do a second step with a cleansing product, and that you could just use water and it would come off pretty cleanly. But they took the PEGs out, and I never found the PEGs to be a problem. And so now they have an unscented version and a scented version. And so therefore I decided to give a little try to the unscented version of this. And so I picked up this small container of this, and I think it was better than I was anticipating. And so I don't necessarily feel like I need to do a second cleanse with this. I think that if my skin were a little bit more oily and I was really looking to remove all the extra traces of oil, maybe I would be more likely to do it. But I think it was better than I was anticipating. I still don't think it's my favorite cleansing balm or product that is out there. And I am a little bit concerned that they are going to be redoing their Honey Vanilla Clean, which I really like and which still has those PEGs in it. But in general, I think that this was actually usable, and I did not find it irritating on my skin at all. A brand of skincare that I tend to like is from Fitglow. And so they have a new squeezy lip balm type of a product. This is called the Ceramide Hydro Balm, and it is $28. And so it's a little bit like the Eadem product. This one does have vanillin in it, though, and that does make me kind of concerned because I tend not to like things that have artificial vanilla extract in them. And this does have some peptides in it, and it also has avocado oil, ceramides, and cloudberry extract, and it's possible that I might like it. And Glossier has a couple of new products. So the first one is called the Lip Glaze Hydrating Cooling Sheer Lip Oil. It's $22 and it's available in 6 different shades. And some of the ingredients in this include squalane, raspberry seed oil, apricot kernel oil, grapeseed oil, and jojoba oil. And so I picked this one up in the shade that is called Creamy, so it's kind of a warm pink. And I do think it's very pretty on my lips. I don't think there's a problem with this. It seems more like just a plain lip oil to me. It doesn't seem really glossy. And I think that it's really not as designed to be giving peptides to your lips or anything like that. But I do think that it seems pretty good for my lips. There's no flavor in this, and I think it tastes fine to me, and it feels fine on my lips. It hasn't caused any irritation. And all in all, I've been using this, and I have been enjoying it. And then they also came out with a glassy highlighter type of a stick, and so this is called the Future Dew Solid. And I've never been a fan of the Super Dew that was in a liquid form. I didn't like the way that felt on my skin. I felt like it was really heavy and kind of greasy looking and feeling, and in addition I didn't like the smell of that. But this one I think is much better. This one has no smell in it, and it is pretty much clear. It's a little bit like the color of my skin, and so it does give a little bit of a look of hydration, but I think it's kind of pretty. And even though I'm already kind of sweating, I'll put a little bit of it on. And I think that that's not a bad look at all. And especially for the winter, before it got so hot, I was kind of enjoying using this. And then in addition, they have a new makeup remover, and this is called the Milky Jelly Cleansing Balm and Makeup Remover. It is $24, and I think it's only available on the Glossier website. I don't think the user reviews for this have been that great, and so that makes me a little bit disinclined to go ahead and buy it. But I feel like the ingredient list looked like it was okay, and that it had sunflower oil, grapeseed oil, squalane in it. And then Haus Labs has a product that I feel like is pretty similar to the Future Dew product from Glossier. And so this is called the Bio Radiant Glassy Balm Highlight Stick. And it has squalane and sodium hyaluronate in it, and it's available in 6 different shades, and so I did try all of the shades at Sephora, and I felt like all of the shades had some kind of weird looking colors in them that when I put them on my face, I don't feel like they looked all that natural or even all that good. So I did end up buying this one, which is the totally clear version, and I don't think this one looks bad. I think that this one looks okay, and again, it's giving me that same kind of a glossy and glassy type of a look. And so again, I think that for winter it might be okay, and so I will go ahead and use it then. Now, on the other hand, I actually couldn't be more enthusiastic about these new blush sticks from Haus Labs. So these are part of the line of blush sticks that is called Color Fuse Blush Balm Stick, and they are $34. And I've always really liked this line of blush sticks in terms of the formula, but in the past they were really only offering really bright shades, and so that was a little bit disappointing. But this year they came out with 4 new shades, and the 4 new shades are more like bronzer blush type products, so they have a much more of a muted and a bronzy type feeling to them, and I think that actually all 4 of them have worked really, really well for me. So I've just picked up 3 of them, but I've tried the other one, which is Glossy Clove, quite a lot in the store, and I think that that is actually a really nice product as well. And these are actually quite nice, I think, as lip products as well as cheek products, and it's pretty rare for me to find a product that works well on my cheeks and that works well on my lips, but these are among them. And so the colors that we have here, we have one that is called Glassy Ginger, and there's Glassy Cinnamon, and then this one is more on the reddish side, and this one is called Glassy Cayenne, I think. And so I do think that this has a very nice ingredient list in terms of having ingredients in it that are good for my cheeks, and I think that they blend super easily and that I can just throw a little bit on and then blend it with my fingers, and it does look really natural, and that these colors are really fantastic. And so all of these are really gorgeous, and I think that if there is one product to take a look at Sephora this summer, this would be one of the ones that I would recommend the most. And so in addition, Haus Labs redid their bronzer line, and contrary to what rumor would have it, they did not change the formula at all. As far as I can tell, the ingredient list is exactly the same, and the formula feels exactly the same to me, but they did redo the shades, and I think that this was actually a really good thing. And in the past, they had 12 shades, but when I looked at least the lightest 3 shades, they really looked almost exactly identical to me. And so having 12 different shades seemed to be kind of pointless if they were all going to be so similar to one another. And they all seemed like they were leaning into more being like a contour rather than a bronzer. And in terms of the repackaging, the size of the bronzers are the same, and the formula is the same, and the packaging is the same, but they are different shades. And so the lightest shade is called Soleil Sand, and this one is one that I think is quite light and kind of a little bit leaning in towards being gray. So I think it's possible to use this one more as a contour. And then the second one, which is called Bronzed Umber, this one leans a little bit more into having some reddish in it. And so I think that for me, if I use it as a bronzy blush type of a product, that works pretty well for me as well. And so I have really liked this formula for a long time, and I think that these shades are much more usable for me than the ones in the past. So I think this has been a really good reformulation for them. And Hourglass finally came out with a little palette that you could choose your own colors. So people have been asking for that for quite a long period of time. And so they came out with this 4-pan palette, and they had 5 pre-made palettes that you could pick the colors that they chose for you, or you could pick out from a whole bunch of different shades the ones that you like the most. And so in this palette, I have 2 shades of powder and 2 shades of blush. And this is totally out of stock on the Hourglass site, so both the palettes that are pre-made as well as the make-your-own palette, they're all gone. But I think that they may be planning to bring it back, and that it is going to eventually come back into stock. And I think this is a nice little palette. And another product that Hourglass came out with recently is a product that is called the Illusion Priming Moisturizer, and it is $58, and I did get a chance to try that out at Sephora, and I did like it. I tend to be really, really picky about skincare, but my skin seemed to think that this was fine, and I do think that it would be a decent priming moisturizer just to give some moisture to my skin, but also serve as a good basis for makeup. And so this does have a little bit of silicone in it, but not very much. So if I were wearing a silicone-based foundation, then this could be a good thing to use with it. And then it also has squalane, niacinamide, almond oil, and 7 different kinds of hyaluronic acid, and then some ceramides. And I would be interested in actually getting a bottle of that and trying it, because I think that it actually did look nice on my skin even when I wasn't wearing makeup, and I do think it would be a good base for makeup. And then in addition, in the past, they came out with the product that is called the Vanish Airbrushed Pressed Powder, and I think that this is more for people with oily skin or who want a little bit of oil control in their powder. And in the past, it was quite expensive and only available in a large container. But this year they came out with a new version that is smaller, and it is $29. And so for those of us who might be interested in trying out this powder without making a big commitment, I think this is a possibility. And Huda is another brand that I haven't had much success with in the past, but I did try out their Easy Bake Setting Spray, and this is available for $17 for a small container or $31 for a larger container. So I tried that out at Sephora, and I feel like it did have an odd consistency on my skin. I feel like my skin was not all that happy about having that on my skin the one time that I did try it. And I feel like this sprayer was kind of problematic too, and I have read a lot of complaints about that sprayer. So I wasn't really inclined to go ahead and get that one. And then Huda also has a product that is called the Lip Contour Stain, which is $25. And I don't think I've heard anybody talk about that at all. So I'm not sure what to think of it. But again, I'm not really anticipating most Huda products to be very good for me. And Ilia came out with some new eyeshadow sticks, and I think that these are actually really, really nice. And I am a big fan of eyeshadow sticks, but in a lot of cases they have aluminum powder in them. But it does seem like all of the Ilia versions do not have any aluminum powder or other problematic ingredients in them. And I haven't had any problem with the ones that I've tried so far in terms of they're irritating my eyes, and I think they performed really well. Now, one thing that I will say is that you probably want to make sure that you put the caps on these pretty tightly, because otherwise they have the potential of getting dried up. And some of the ones that I tried at Sephora did seem to be dried up, and so that is one caution. But other than that, I really like the way these perform, and I would like to have a couple more of them. And in total, they have 8 matte versions of these and 12 shimmer, and they are $29. And I have liked the Ilia Limitless Mascara, which is their lengthening mascara, for a while. And so I am really happy they came out with a brown version. And I think that this brown version is working really nicely for me. That's actually what I'm wearing on my eyes today. And Iris and Romeo came out with a squeezy lip balm product, and this is called the Weekend Skin Lip Balm SPF 30, and it is $29, and they say that it includes non-nano zinc oxide. So I am not a big fan of products that contain sunscreen in them. I think that the ones that have chemical sunscreens in them, they always do irritate my lips. And the ones that include zinc oxide in them, I just don't really like the taste of those. This one does include pomegranate oil, bisabolol, and beriti oil. And I think that if you want a zinc oxide type of a lip balm, then this could be one that I would be personally interested in trying. But I feel like when I'm wearing my SPF 50 hat, that seems to protect my lips enough that my lips don't get burned or irritated in the sun. And so that will continue to be my strategy. And Jane Iredale has a new foundation, and so this is called the Skin Tuition SPF 30 Radiance Boosting Liquid Foundation, and so this does have some mineral SPF in it. It does not have any chemical sunscreens in it, and it does not have any chemical sunscreen boosters in it, and it hasn't been irritating to my skin at all, so that has been good. And in terms of wearing it, I think it's not a bad foundation on me. It does provide a substantial amount of coverage, and I don't think it's done too bad in terms of causing my skin to look like the wrinkles are more problematic or anything like that. I think that compared to a lot of the foundations that are out there now, I think this one is performing pretty well. And I do think it's a lot better than the other foundations that I have tried from Jane Iredale. And I think that probably they are using one of the new forms of zinc that are more transparent and that are not nano. It's saying that it's not a nano product, but I do think that this is a more modern form of zinc that is working better for me. And of all the products that I've tried out this year, I think that the Jones Road Just Enough is really close to the top, or maybe at the top of the list. And so this is a foundation that I have been wearing this summer. Really, anytime I am drawn to wear a foundation, this is the one that I really think is the one that I want to be wearing, and that I'm wearing, for instance, in this video today. And I do feel really comfortable with this, and I do think it looks really good on me, and it's just giving a little bit of coverage, but not too much. I think it looks totally natural, like I'm not wearing any makeup at all, and I think it provides a good base for me to use, for instance, the Jones Road face pencils on top of it, and that I can blend it in really easily. And I think that my skin really, really likes this one, and I think that anyone could wear this, even if you had oily skin, even if you have acne skin, even if you are reactive to fragrances, even if you don't want something that's sticky and messy. This is really kind of the perfect foundation. And so I will continue to wear this one, and I would highly suggest giving this one a try. And for a long time, I have been a big fan of the Jones Road eye cream, and I think this is a very nice, light, oil-free eye cream that is a nice base for me to put down the Jones Road face pencils or the neutralizer pencil. And then this year they came out with a new eye cream, which is called the Rich Eye Cream. And so this one does include a little bit of oil in it, but not a whole lot. And I think that this one is really still more like the regular eye cream than it is like a lot of eye creams that are on the market, and I don't feel like it is too thick or too rich for me to use even during the day, but I think that for the evening, I think it's a little bit better of a choice too. And so I have found this one to be particularly nice, and especially during the winter, I think that this was probably a particularly nice product for me to get some use out of. And then one of my most recent videos is a review of the Jones Road Makeup Travel Kit 2.0. And so this is $98, and it includes a number of different items that provides a kind of a summary look, including the Jones Road liquid bronzers and then a number of other popular Jones Road products. And I see on the website that Jones Road came out with a new powder puff. This is $14, and I think that maybe a lot of people don't want to pay $14 for a powder puff, but I am actually kind of interested in that. And so I will try to pick that up next time I purchase something from them. And then moving on to Kosas. Kosas has a new setting spray, which is called Cloud Set Setting Spray, and it is available in a small container for $17 and a larger container for $31. And I was kind of concerned about that because it has phenethyl alcohol in it. So phenethyl alcohol, it smells like roses, and it is a derivative of roses that can also be made in a laboratory. And I like the smell of roses, but my skin has not historically liked phenethyl alcohol in terms of it being irritating. And in addition, it has Alcorn sea moss in it, which is an algae that I feel like it could be contaminated with like cyanobacteria toxin. So I was concerned about this particular setting spray, but I did try it on in the store, and I feel like it was okay. And I was surprised that I actually kind of liked it. So now I may try to pick that up at some point, especially if I can get it on sale or in a sample. And one of my favorite releases from last year was the Kosas Blushes Life, a powder blush, and these are $29. And they came out with 3 new shades. And so it looks like all 3 of the shades are especially bright. So originally there were 4 shades that were really muted type of shades, and I did like all 4 of those. And then there were 4 brighter shades that I decided to pass on. And so these new shades seem to be even brighter than the old bright shades. So if you're looking for a bright shade of blush, I think that that is a very nice formula, and I really have enjoyed those a lot. And then in addition, Kosas is coming out with a lash serum plus mascara product, and it is supposed to be for sensitive eyes, and it is priced at $28. And so this lash serum does not include prostaglandin analogs in it, so I definitely don't want to be using anything that has any kind of ingredient in it like that. This one has an ingredient that is called myristoyl pentapeptide 17, which says that it supports visibly longer and fuller lashes in 6 to 8 weeks. And it is a synthetic peptide that is designed specifically to promote lash growth. And I still am a little concerned about that, even though it is supposed to be for sensitive eyes, because I tend to just have particularly sensitive eyes, but I am still a little bit interested in experimenting with that because I certainly could use lashes that are a little bit more naturally full. And this is available for $16 in a mini size, so I might decide to pick that one up and give it a try as an experiment to see if it does anything and to see if it's irritating. Now, usually I like tubing mascaras the most, and I have heard a number of good things about the Kulfi product, which is called the Baddie Lash Tubing Mascara for $26. Unfortunately, they don't have this one available in a smaller container, and unfortunately, it is only available in black. But nonetheless, I have heard enough good things about this brand and about this particular product that I would be interested in trying it. And Kylie Cosmetics this year released a new powder foundation, and this is called the Kylie Natural Blur Powder Foundation, which is $36. And this has squalane as the second ingredient, and then it also has some hydrogenated vegetable oil in it. So it is supposed to have some moisturizing types of ingredients in it. And it is made in Italy, and it has 39 shades. And so far I've actually kind of liked this one, which is why I decided to pick it up after trying it at Ulta. And the shade that I picked up in this one is 2C, and I think that this one has worked out okay for me so far. And Kylie also has a new line of what they are calling hybrid blush, and these are fairly reasonably priced at $22, and there are 8 shades. And I feel like this ingredient list seems kind of basic to me. I don't feel like this is an ingredient list that has any problematic ingredients in it. But I think it's kind of what I would expect for a cream type of a blush. They're saying it's a hybrid, so maybe it is acting like a cream to powder. And so I am going to keep looking for this at Ulta and try to give that a try in the store. And Lancome is a brand that is owned by L'Oreal, and there really is almost nothing from Lancome that I have had any success with. Most of the products do have ingredients in them that are problematic for me. And so I am interested in this new eyeshadow palette that is from Lancome. And this is called the Lancome Iredale Cafe Crush eyeshadow palette for $59. And it says that it is designed in collaboration with the makeup artist named Shika Daly. And so I haven't seen this one yet. It has 12 different shades in it. I think the colors look nice, and I would be interested in taking a look at this in the store at any rate. And at least this one does not include any aluminum powder, so that makes it a possibility for me. It does include an ingredient that is called aluminum starch octanol succinate, and that actually I think is the main reason that makes me really like the YSL eyeshadow quads, and so that actually makes me more interested in this particular palette, and I've never found those YSL eyeshadows to be irritating for me at all, so I think that that ingredient is probably okay for me. This does include talc in it, and so that is slightly concerning for me, and it certainly would be concerning for some other people as well. And then Laura Mercier has a line of new bronzers that are powder, and so these are called the Bronze Color Infusion, and there are 5 different versions. And so the lightest version is number 10, and it's called Saint Croix. And this one is only available on the Laura Mercier website, or at least it's not available at Sephora. And then the second version that is just a little bit darker and not that much different is called 20, and this one is called Marseille. And so at least in the terms of these 2 lighter versions, I feel like the darker shade here is more like a contour that I would use just to give my cheekbones just a tiny little bit of definition. And then the other shade here is more like a pinky bronze type of a color that is almost like a little bit of a blushy bronzer. And I think that both of these are very pretty and that they have worked out well for me. And then Laura Mercier also has a new under eye powder, and this is called the Secret Brightening Color Correcting Under Eye Setting Powder for $35. This is available in 5 different shades, so there's a translucent one and a pink one and 3 in skin tone shades. And this is a loose powder, and it has both talc and silicone in it. And I am still a little bit wary about the idea of having loose powder that is talc, because I do feel like you may be breathing in more of that talc, and that especially if it's contaminated with asbestos, or even if it's not contaminated with asbestos, that may not be the best thing to be doing. So I'm a little bit wary about that, but it is an option. And then Laura Mercier also has a new powder foundation, and this is called the Real Flawless Smooth Finish Pressed Foundation, and it is $52. And so far it seems to only be available on Neiman Marcus. It's not even on the Laura Mercier website, and so I haven't been able to look at the ingredient list for that, and so I'm not sure what it includes. I don't think that most of the Laura Mercier products actually contain fragrance in them these days, and so my hope would be that this might be a product that might be appropriate for people that are looking for things without fragrance. But I will wait and see if I can figure out what the ingredient list is before I make any decisions about whether I'm personally interested in it. And Lawless released earlier this year a foundation that is called Forget the Filler Foundation for $43. And this is a silicone-based foundation. And like most Lawless type foundations, it is a little bit more on the full coverage side. And I did try this out at Sephora. And the first thing that I found was that the only shade that I could wear was the very lightest shade that they were offering, and I thought that that was a little bit on the strange side because there certainly are a lot of people out there that have much lighter skin than I do, and so I don't think that those people would be able to wear this foundation at all. And in addition, I'm not sure that I was that crazy about that formula. I think it would have worked okay for me. But I did get a sample from them, and so I do want to try that on camera. And I think I probably have enough for a couple of different applications. And so I do want to do a video soon on the foundations that have been released. And so I want to take a closer look at that product for that video. And then Lisa Eldridge came out with a new summertime line of products, and so there is an eyeshadow palette that is called Desert Gleam, and that one is $62. And I decided that I was really just interested in one of the shades in that, which is a green shade that is called Sahara. And so I purchased this, and I popped this into the palette that I have that is called Fawn. So I took one of the 3 brown shades out of this, and I put this green shade in there. And so I have been wearing that in combination with the other shades that are in this palette. And then I also have been wearing that green shade just on its own. And so if you look at the clothing video that I did recently, then I did wear that particular shade in that video. And then in addition, she has 3 new lipstick refills available. And so these are part of the Rouge Experience lipsticks. And so I did just pick one refill. And the one that I picked is called Lily. And this is a kind of a slightly grungy and slightly orange-leaning red. And I really like that one also. I think this one may be actually my favorite lipstick of all of the red lipsticks that I have ever used. And so I did try that one on in the clothing video that I did as well. So you can see if you like that color on my lips in that video. And then in addition, there are 2 other shades of lipstick that I think also do look kind of interesting, and that they do lean a little bit more on the brownish side, so I think she is looking back to like the 1990s for this line. So there's one that's called Toasted, which is a quite light sort of beige type lipstick, and then there's one that's called Ray. And I see that LYS has a new product, and this is called the True Enlightenment Finisher Powder, and it is $22, and it is stated as being a multitasking formula that works as a setting powder, bronzer, and highlighter in one, adding natural luminosity to the skin with a soft focus finish. And so this includes green tea extract, sodium hyaluronate, and niacinamides. And MAC has a few new products that I might conceivably be interested in. So the first one is that they reformulated their Studio Fix Powder Plush Foundation. And so in the past, I feel like this has been a powder foundation that a lot of people with really oily skin have really relied on and that they have really liked, and that a lot of those people that have liked this powder foundation for a really long period of time are really upset about it because it is not holding up for them as well as it has in the past. And so I can see why they might be upset about it, but on the other hand, I think that that might mean that it is a product that might be more appropriate for me now, because it might be the case that this is not as much designed for really oily skin, and that my dry skin, especially in the summer, might be able to do well with it. And I have heard some good reviews from some people that do not have really oily skin, or that are even leaning towards drier skin, and so that does make me a little bit interested in trying this product. The other issue for this product is that there are 67 shades, and it seems that MAC is making it as hard as possible to figure out what the right shade is. So it's all very confusing, and there was one day that I spent a while at MAC at Ulta trying to figure out what shade I should get, and I actually asked for some help, and I do think that I came up with the shade that might work for me, but I don't even remember what that is. So I think if I'm going to do this powder foundation video and include that powder foundation in it, I'm going to have to go to Ulta and figure out the shade again. And then another product that is new from MAC is called the Lip Gloss Air, and this is $25. And what they say is that this is a non-sticky, high-shine lip gloss that hydrates lips all day with light as air wear and nourishing care. And this includes meadow foam oil, jojoba oil, and vitamin C. And so I'm a little bit interested in this. I am a little dissuaded by the fact that it includes both vanillin and saccharin in it. So I have been willing to use some MAC lipsticks that have vanillin in them just because I really like the shades of those lipsticks. And I'm a little bit less interested in a lip gloss type of a product, but I still think that this is interesting that they have come out with a lip gloss that is not sticky. And then there's another product that is called the Strobe Beam Blush, and this is $30. And this is supposed to be an iridescent liquid blush with sheer buildable coverage that is designed to strobe, sculpt, shape, and underpaint for personalized payoff. And I was really suspicious about this, but there was one day that I was at Macy's and I did try on a few of these shades both on my cheeks and on my lips, and I actually kind of liked it. And so I didn't really have enough time to really play with it a whole lot or decide which shade I wanted at that particular moment. But I think that I would be interested in exploring this a little bit more because I feel like that product may be better than I was really anticipating. And Makeup Forever is another brand that tends to have a lot of fragrance in a lot of their products, but they do have a new powder that is called the HD Skin Blurring and Perfecting Powder. And this is available for $22 and $40, and it says that it is a silky smooth pressed powder that blurs and refines texture while visibly reducing shine with a weightless feel for a diffused soft focus finish. And so I would be interested in trying that powder out. It does not seem to have any talc in it. It has mica and silicone, it looks like. And Makeup by Mercier has a new bronzer, and this is called the Soft Sculpt Talc-Free Blurring Bronzer for $38. So they did previously have a powder bronzer, but I do think that that one had talc in it. And I did get a chance to try this out in the store briefly, and I thought that it felt nice on my skin. I thought that it seemed to go on nicely. I thought the color was appropriate for my skin tone, and there are a number of different shades in this. And it says that it contains hyaluronic acid, and I think that that could be one reason that it felt nice on my skin and that it went on nicely. And in addition, Makeup by Mercier has a new mascara, and this is called the Master Mascara for $28, and it is described as being a volumizing mascara for visibly fuller, longer, and lifted lashes. And this is not a tubing mascara, and it is available only in black, and I'm not sure if I've heard that many good things about this one, even if I were looking for a mascara that's not a tubing mascara, but it is one that I would be willing to try, maybe if I got a free sample. And then I see that there is a new line of cream eyeshadows from him, and this is called the Master Mattes Cream Eyeshadow for $25 each. And these are all neutral colors. They're more like base colors, so I'm wondering if this would be a good line of eyeshadows that could serve as a base for me to put powder eyeshadows or shimmery eyeshadows on the top of them. And so it seems to me a lot like the new eyeshadows that RMS came out with that are in the little tubes, and so I am wondering if those are different. And I think that those are just about to be released, so I haven't heard anything about those. And then Merit has a couple of products that I have talked about on this channel before. And so the first ones are the Signature Lip Sheer Lip Liners for $24, and they are available in 8 different shades. And these are a little bit odd because they are lip pencils, but they are not all that long lasting, and they are pretty sheer. And so I feel like for me, when I go to the trouble of using a separate step for a lip liner, I want it to be something that is going to stay in place for a long period of time, and I don't feel like these really stay in place for very long, and so I'm a little bit uncertain what the purpose of these are, and I don't feel like they have made that much difference in terms of giving me a lip look that looks different than not wearing a lip liner at all. And then in addition, they came out with 4 new shades in their lip oils, or they're called the Shade Slick Sheen Tinted Lip Oils. So these have just a little bit of a shimmer to them. And these are 4 more on the neutral colors. And I do really like this one, which is called Tabby, and I think that all 4 of these would be really nice colors for me. And in general, I do really like this formula, and so I am always happy to see them come out with new shades in this. And then the third product that they have released that has gotten a lot of attention has been their tinted sunscreen, and this is called the Uniform, I think. And this one does contain a sunscreen booster in it that is called butyloctyl salicylate. And so this is basically a chemical sunscreen, but it is not one that has ever been approved by the government. And so companies will just take this sunscreen and throw it into a mineral sunscreen. And in this case, Merit is saying that this is a 100% mineral sunscreen, even though it includes this chemical sunscreen in it. And so I am not very happy about that at all. I think that that is really misleading, and I think it is fine for Merit to offer a product that is a hybrid product such as this one, and that does include both mineral and chemical sunscreens in it. But I don't think that they should be saying that it is 100% mineral sunscreen, because that is actually not the truth. And Milk Makeup came out with the foundation this year. It is called the Hydro Grip Gel Skin Tint for $36, and it is available in 15 shades, so it's providing just a light amount of coverage. And so I have tried this on in the store a couple of times, and I did get them to give me a sample so that I could try it on camera to see what it looks like. And I think that it was okay. I don't think that it irritated my skin. I have had a lot of problems with a lot of the Milk products irritating my skin, including the Hydro Grip Primer. That one has been particularly irritating for me. But I think that this product has been okay. I wouldn't say that it was exactly my favorite in terms of how it looked on my skin, but at least it wasn't irritating for me, and I would like to try it on camera so that we can see what it looks like up close. And some of the ingredients in that include hyaluronic acid, squalane, niacinamide, aloe, and there's a fermented ingredient in there. And so that may explain why I've had better luck with this particular product than a lot of the ones from Milk Makeup, because it does seem like it has a lot of good skincare ingredients in it that I tend to do well with. And then Mob Beauty is one of my favorite companies, and they have several new products that are out. And so the first one is a line of shimmery lipsticks. And so these are called Frost lipsticks, and they are $24 each. And so far there are 4 different shades. And so the 2 shades that I have taken a look at are Magnolia Boulevard, which is a rose gold, and then also Moonchild, which is a smoky plum. And so you can take a look at what these look like on the back of my hand here. And then in addition, there are 2 more shades. So one is called Frostbite, which is described as a smoky silver, and Paradox, which is a pale pink. And I think that Mob Beauty has given it a good college try in terms of making lipsticks, but their goal with regard to lipsticks is that they don't want any silicone in them, and they don't want any plastics in them, or things like polyethylene, which is plastic. And so I think that it makes it a little bit challenging for them to make a lipstick that is as good as some of the other companies that do use those ingredients in their lipsticks. And so I think that these are pretty good in terms of the performance. pigments and that these colors are kind of pretty. I do still think that the Isamaya lipsticks that are in the frosty type shades, that those are much better, and that I do enjoy wearing those a lot more, and that if I pick up any more of these, I would be inclined to pick up the Isamaya ones. And then another new product from Mob Beauty is one that is called the Blurring Blot Balm and Primer, and it is $23. And it comes in this form, which is like a balm type of a form in this little cardboard container. And I think that it is designed to reduce the look of oil and of shine and of pores on the skin. And so this is not a product that I would use very much in the wintertime months, but in the summer I think that it does seem to be helpful. And so I've been experimenting with putting some of this onto my nose and on my cheeks or in other areas of my face that I'm anticipating will have a sweaty or an oily type of look in the summer. And I think this is a nice product, and so I am interested in continuing to try this either in addition to powders or instead of a powder in the summertime months. And this can apparently be applied either underneath makeup to provide a good base, or you can put it on over the top of your makeup if you start to feel like you're starting to look a little bit greasy. And then I do really like the Mob Beauty powder eyeshadows, and they have come out with a number of new shades. And so the one that I have picked up is a bronzy type of a color, and this is called M168, and it's described as a bronze copper shimmer, and so that is this eyeshadow here. And then the other ones that they've come out recently are first of all, a matte mushroom color, which is about the same color as this one, but it doesn't have that shimmer to it. And then there's one more shimmer eyeshadow, and this one is called Milky Way, and it is described as a smoky amethyst shimmer. And there is one that is called Shadow Play, which is a matte smoky sage gray. And then there is a matte white and a matte black. And I think all of those could be kind of pretty. And I do really like the fact that you can buy these individually and then put them together in your own combinations to make your own eyeshadow palette. And so here is what those three products look like, the two lipsticks and the eyeshadow. And then their most recent product release is the Peptide Drench Cushion Lip Gloss for $24. And this comes in 4 different shades, and they're all sparkly type of lip topper type shades. And so there is a clear sparkle, a gunmetal sparkle, which is kind of gray, a golden neutral beige, and a soft hazy heather. And this one does have some peptides in it. So the peptide it has is called Palmitoyl 4 Tripeptide 38, which is supposed to focus on anti-aging and wrinkles. And so I have not tried that one yet, but I do think that the colors look kind of pretty, and so I would be interested in trying it. And then Naked Sundays is a company that I believe is from Australia, and so far the only product that I have tried from them is their mineral sunscreen. And so their newest product is called the Glow Balms SPF 50, and these are $28, and they are designed to be used on either the cheeks or the lips or the eyelids, and they come in a stick format. And there are several colors of those, and so I would be interested in trying those out. I haven't heard anything about them, so I don't know if they would be any good. And then Nars is another company that I do really like in general. And I think that their most recent release are their powder highlighters. And so these are called the Light Reflecting Luminizing Powders, and they are $42. And there are 5 different shades. So as I say, I did give these a try, and I thought that I might be a little interested in these. In general, I haven't leaned that much towards powder highlighters. A lot of them do tend to be pretty shiny or glittery, and I do think that these have a little bit of that glittery thing going. And so it's probably not a highlighter that I would wear every day, but maybe for a special occasion I might enjoy it. And one thing that I will say is that when I was trying this on inside the Ulta store, I was thinking that I kind of liked the way that it was looking and that maybe I should go ahead and buy it. But then when I went outside into the sunshine, I do think that it started to look a lot more glittery and something that I would be a little bit more cautious about using. And so I would suggest wearing that out into the sunshine if you want to get a really good sense of what it actually looks like. And then Nars has typically in the past put their products in kind of plain packaging, But more recently, they have come out with different kinds of packaging that have designs on them, and so I think that this is a really cool thing. And so their newest one has these butterflies on it, and this is called the Beauty Transformed line, and so there's a whole collection of different types of products. And this particular product is an eyeshadow palette, and so this is called the Sakura Eyeshadow Quad. And so there are 4 shades in here, and so there are 2 mattes and there are 2 shimmers. And so the mattes, there is a light brown shade and a kind of an apricot type shade. And then the shimmers, there is one that is a lilac and there's one that's kind of a goldy, slightly orange shade. And that is the eyeshadow that I actually am wearing today. And so let me take off my glasses and you can take a look and see what this looks like. And I think it's a little interesting that Nars seems to be leaning in more in their eyeshadow palettes now towards putting a little bit of purples in here. They did this in their most recent eyeshadow palette, which is called the Tempting Afterglow palette, which came out only about 6 months ago or so, and now that is on the Last Chance section of the Nars site. And I did really like this Tempting palette, and I also like this new one. So I will show you what these look like compared in the pan. And so I don't think that these are identical to one another, and they don't even really have that many shades that are the same, but they are kind of variations on a theme. And then the other items that are in this Beauty Transformed line with the butterflies on it, there is a blush, and actually there's 2 different blushes. These are $34. So one is called Final Cut, which is a peachy coral, and one is called Sex Fantasy, which is a soft pink lavender. And then there are 2 different lip oils. One is Far Away, which is actually a shade that I have and that I think is actually really, really pretty. That's described as an apricot tea. And Twirl, which is a rose pink. And then there's also a light reflecting setting powder in just their regular crystal translucent type of shade. And then one more new thing that Nars has done is that they have introduced some new shades in their light reflecting foundation. And this is a foundation that I do like in terms of the formula, and it was introduced I think 3 years ago, and it does seem to work really well in terms of not irritating my skin, and it does offer a fair amount of coverage, but a lot of people do like the way that this looks. And I think that it looks okay with my wrinkles. I wouldn't say that it's my top foundation, but in terms of the amount of coverage that it gives, I do think that it is a good contender. And my issue in the past is that I never felt like I actually had the exact ideal shade from them. The shade that I think has been the closest for me is one that is called Mont Blanc, which is L2 and described as very light with neutral undertones, but I never really felt like that one was a very good match. And so I was happy that they came out with 14 new shades. Some of them are lighter, a number of them are darker. And again, I went to the store and I tried on all of the shades that they had in the store that seemed appropriate for my skin depth. And I don't feel like any of those were exactly perfect either. So there are a few shades, though, that are available only online. And there are 5 shades, and one of them I think might be the one that might be the best for me, possibly, which is called Yukon. And this is L2.5, and it's supposed to be light with cool undertones, but I'm wondering if that might be a better shade for me than the Mont Blanc. So I went ahead and ordered that, and so I will be comparing that to the Mont Blanc because I do have a sample of that. And so hopefully I will get a sense of whether or not that is a really good shade for me or whether or not this is just, they don't really have a good shade. And then there's one more product that is like a special edition, and this is called the Beauty in Bloom Explicit Lipstick, and these are $40, and these are in refillable containers. And I do still really, really like these explicit lipsticks. And some of the shades that are in this Beauty in Bloom version are the original shades, and then some of them are special edition shades. And so I am interested in that because I do think that this container is pretty, and I do really like this lipstick formula. And Necessaire is a brand that I have typically really liked, although they do seem to be adding a lot of fragrances, including, in some cases, synthetic fragrances to their newer products. And so their newest product is called the Lip Balm, and it is $25, and it's one of those squeezy tube lip balms. And this does include peppermint oil and saccharin in it, and I'm not sure how I feel about having the saccharin in that product. And so I'm not necessarily thinking that that's going to be a good product for me. But it does have some ceramides in it, niacinamide, and sodium hyaluronate. And One Size is a company that I've had a few good experiences with. And so the most recent product that they came out with is called the B12 Base Thinner. And so this is $36, and it is described as being a pearlescent mixing medium and serum that transforms foundation and enlivens skin, boosting radiance both immediately and over time. And so this one has some silicones in it, and it also has sodium hyaluronate, ceramide, vitamin C, and vitamin B12. And I really like this product. I think that this is a nice product to add to a foundation. It just does give it a tiny little bit of a shimmer, and I think that it can improve the texture of some of the products. So I've experimented with this with a few different foundations, and so far, so good. And so I don't know that it's necessarily something that is going to make a huge difference, but I haven't found it to be irritating for me, and I do think it looks nice on my skin, even if I put it just right on my skin or if I mix it into a foundation. So I think it's something that if you're curious about it, it could be worth taking a look at. And then in addition, One Size has another new product, which is called the Powder Melt Glass Setting Spray for $34. And this is described as being a skincare-infused hydrating setting spray that seamlessly melts powder layers for a radiant glass-like finish that lasts all day. And so I'm not sure if this is a product that would work well for me as a setting spray, because so far the main reason that I have used setting sprays is when I am wearing a foundation that is kind of on the sticky side, that doesn't set down very well. And the setting sprays that I've used, such as the Nars one or the Makeup by Mario one, those have been really successful for me as something that I can use instead of a powder, and that gives my skin that dewy look, but that makes it less sticky. And so I'm not sure if that's what this particular product is designed to do, but I will say that the ingredients for this one do look like they are okay. And there's no fragrance in this, and I'm not seeing anything that I think that would probably make my skin react. And so I would be interested in experimenting with this a little bit in the store. I don't know if it would be a good thing for me at all, but I am willing to take a look at it and give it a try. And then Pat McGrath came out with several new products, and she is spending most of her time, I would think, heading up the makeup line for Louis Vuitton, which is going to be coming out maybe in the fall. And so in addition, her own line has a few new products. And so one of these, probably the biggest release, was called Mothership 12, which is called Petal Morphosis, and that is $128. And it is a palette that has some greens in it, so that makes it a little bit more unusual compared to her standard palettes, which tended to have a lot of pinks in them more recently. In terms of the ingredient list, I am not seeing any aluminum powder in this, and in general it does have some talc in it, and I am seeing an ingredient that's called black number 2, which is a nano, and EWG says that that is a 10 on their list, but when I have used products that have black number 2 in them recently, I don't feel like they've been irritating for me. And I think that the issue with that is that it is a product of the coal industry, and that in a lot of cases it has contaminants in it and that it can cause problems. And I think that they may have gotten to the point where they are doing a better job in terms of the filtering out of those contaminants. And so I wouldn't necessarily say that the black number 2 that is in this palette would absolutely keep me from using it if I really wanted it other than that. So I do in general like green eyeshadow palettes, and so anything that has some greens in it makes me interested. But in the case of this one, I do think that those greens look like they may be a little more difficult to wear. And my experience with the 2 Pat McGrath palettes that I have is that I have enjoyed them a little bit when I have used them, but I really haven't used them all that much, and I haven't really been that drawn to using them. Now, one other thing that Pat McGrath did this year is that some of the older Mothership palettes have been reformulated, and so all of the palettes, I think 1 through 9, they all did have Teflon in them, and so Teflon is really being phased out, and it's looking like Sephora in the US and certainly anywhere that's in Europe is not allowing Teflon to be in beauty products. And so they did reformulate a few of the older palettes to remove that Teflon. And at first I was thinking that that might be in the special shades, but that seems not to be the case. It seems like the special shades didn't actually have that Teflon in them and that the Teflon was in the powder products. And so it may be that the powder products are a little bit less spreadable than in the past. I'm not sure about that. But the new versions do apparently still have those same special shades in them. And in my recollection, both the lip pencils and the eye pencils from Pat McGrath both had Teflon in them. And so those have both been reformulated also. And so the new lip pencil reformulation is called the Legendary Longwear Lip Pencils. These are $29, and they come in 10 different shades, and they do have silicones in them, of course, but they do not have any Teflon. And I think the ingredient list for those looks pretty good. And I have actually been a real fan of these lip pencils from Pat McGrath, and these are kind of like lip crayons, and they're called like dramatic lip pencils, something like that. And so I did really like these, and I'm wondering how different the new lip pencils will be that she is just bringing out now. And so I'm a little bit interested in giving that a try, especially if I can find those in the store. And then in addition, the eye pencils used to have Teflon in them, and now they have been introduced in a formula that does not have Teflon, and these are called the Permagel eye pencils, and they are $29. And I do see that some of them at least do have that black number 2 nano in it, and so I'm not sure if that should be a concern or not, but other than that, I think the ingredient list does look okay to me. And then Pat McGrath also has a setting spray, and this is called the Skin Fetish Glass 001 Legendary Glow Setting Spray. And this is described as being a buildable, dewy setting spray that keeps skin hydrated and makeup color true and locked in place for up to 16 hours. And I have read some negative reviews about that on the user reviews on Sephora, and mostly people seem to be complaining about the faulty nozzle for this. And so I would be a little bit cautious about buying that. And Dr. Perricone is a company that I've never purchased anything from, but they do have some new products that are called the No Makeup Radiant Glow Balm, and they are $39. And from the description, it sounds like they are trying to lean in a little bit towards the Jones Road Miracle Balm type of a look, and so that makes me a little bit interested in those. Those do not have any kind of fragrance in them, and so that does make me more attracted to them. They do have BHT in them, and I am not necessarily really concerned about BHT when it comes to products that I'm not putting on my lips. And there are some companies like Merit that do use BHT in some of their products, and I think that those have been okay for me. So that's not necessarily a deal killer with regard to this product. In addition, it has some other ingredients in it that I think could be good for my skin, including shea butter and camellia japonica seed oil and coconut oil and niacinamide. And Polite Society, this is a brand that is sold at Ulta, and one of their newest products is a line of 4 different bronzers. So this is called the Cabana Club Blurring Bronzer, and I have this in the shade French Riviera, I think is the name. And this is actually one of my favorite bronzers that I've been using this summer, and I do think that it is something that I can just throw on really fast, and that will give me something that looks like a pretty good tan, no matter how much I put on my face. And so I have been really liking this one. And I like the formula. I think it goes on very nicely, and it really disappears on my skin. And so Queen Musea is a newer brand. I think they were just launched sometime last year. And now they have 3 new products. So they have a hybrid blush, which is called Plaisir Nostalgique, and this is $32. And so it looks like it is a cream blush, but maybe with a powder finish. And then they have a bronzer, and this is called the Voyage Nostalgique Soft Sunlight Bronzer for $35, and this is a powder bronzer that contains both kaolin and cornstarch, so this is probably oil absorbing, I would imagine. And then there is also a lip balm, a tinted lip balm, and this is called Skincare Super Care Tinted Hydra Balm for $28. And I did try their lipstick, so I'm not sure how different this will be. I felt like the lipstick tasted a little bit rancid to me, so I was a little surprised at that, and there's no flavor at all in that one. And in this particular Hydra Balm, this does have ethyl vanillin as one of the ingredients in that. And then in addition, it lists shea butter, jojoba oil, avocado oil, and sodium hyaluronate. And RMS has a new release, and so these are called the Cashmere Matte Eyelights, and so these are cream eyeshadows, and they come in little tubes, and so there are a bunch of different colors of these, and I actually picked up 3 of these, and so the ones that I picked up are Dusty Trail, Tundra Taupe, and Wildflower. And so I swatched these on the back of my hand, and so you can take a look at that. And so the ones that I have are the Wildflower one, which is just a very light purple that is almost white. And I have a Dusty Trail, which is a kind of a sandy color. And then I have this taupe color. And in general, I was kind of optimistic about these because I do tend to put a concealer on my eyes every time I go to put on eyeshadow. And so I was hoping that these would kind of cover up that darkness that is on my eyes and provide a good base for eyeshadow. And I kind of feel like these have done that. And I think that they do provide a matte base, and I think that I can put different kinds of powder eyeshadow or cream eyeshadow over the top of them. But I also feel like these are, they don't really look all that good on their own, and so I'm not really that inclined to just put this on and leave them on there. And in addition, I feel like they are slightly irritating to my eyes in and of themselves. And the main reason that I want to put something on my eyelids is to protect my eyes from being irritated by the actual eyeshadows that I'm putting on. But in this case, especially when I first put it on, I feel like it's slightly annoying, especially for a little while. And that eventually that does seem to go away, but I feel like that is kind of defeating the purpose of my using this particular product. So that's a little bit of a disappointment, and I probably shouldn't have bought all these shades to begin with. And Rare Beauty came out with a new line of blushes. So these are called the Soft Pinch Matte Bouncy Blush. They are $27. And so I did pick up this one, which is in the shade Hope. So this is kind of a mauve-y shade. And I do like it. And in the past, I do feel like the other blush products from Rare Beauty have been very bright and a little bit hard to control. And this one does seem to be easier to control. I do think that I can put on just a small amount of this and blend it in quite easily, and that it is a fairly low involvement process. On the other hand, I do think that all of the shades of this particular blush look like they are a little bit on the bright side, and so I'm not sure if I would be as enthusiastic about those. And then at about the same time, Saie came out with a line of powder blushes, and so these are called the Super Suede Powder Blush for $28, and there are 6 shades, I think, so I did get a chance to try out all of these at Sephora. And I did pick up this one, which is in the shade Mia, and I think that this is actually a fairly similar shade to that Rare Beauty shade, so it is kind of a rosy mauve type of a shade. And I think that this is quite pretty. I do like the texture of this one. I think it goes on my skin really nicely. I think that the other ones do look like they were a lot more pigmented. There is one shade that I am still interested in, which is called Chow, and that is more like a brownish color with a little bit of a pink in it, and I do like the way that that looks on my skin, especially for summer. And then one of the more popular products from Saie are their Dew Blush, Liquid Cream Blush. These are $25, and they have brought out a couple of new shades. And so the shade that I was interested in and picked up is called Lady, and this is a pink shade that has a lot of gray in it. And so I'll just put this on the back of my hand, and you can take a look and see what this looks like. But I think it's very pretty. And Sarah Creel came out with several new products, And so the newest products from them, first of all, they came out with a line of bronzers that I talked about in my recent Sarah Creel video. And so these are in 3 different shades. And I did pick up 2 of these shades, and I think that both of these shades, the light one and the medium one, that they have both worked well for me. And I think that the thing about these bronzers is that they are quite expensive, but that they do look really nice. They go onto the skin really nicely, but mostly that they have some skincare benefits in them. So in specific, they have 9 different peptides in these bronzers, and so therefore I don't think it's a great idea to wear this if you're planning to wear foundation underneath them, because you're not going to be probably getting the benefits of those peptides. But if you're looking for something for the summer that's like a no makeup type of a day, and you just want to add a little bit of color to your bare skin, I think that these work, or bare skin with maybe a little bit of concealer, something like that. I think that these work really, really well for that. And that the amount of moisturizing that they give to the skin is really pleasant, and the fact that they have all of those peptides in it. And then very similar to those bronzers is this highlighter that is from Sarah Creel, and so this has all of those same peptides in it. And I have the lighter shade in this one. I think that it's supposed to be really just matched to your skin tone, so I just have one of these. And I do think that this looks very pretty on me, and I'll just put a little bit of this on right now just so you can see what it looks like. So I think that this is a very natural looking highlighter on me, and I would say that of the highlighters that I have, that this one is really, really pretty, and that I have been thinking to reach for it quite a bit more than I usually do for most makeup that I purchase. And then a new product that has just been released is called the No Further Questions Lip Gloss. And this is $40. And so this one again has a couple of peptides in it. And it is described as being a high shine, cushiony lip gloss powered by peptides that provide multidimensional color, supreme hydration, and lasting softness without stickiness. And so I do think that I am interested in buying this one, and so hopefully it will work out. And then Tower 28 came out with a line of powder blush, and so these are called the Get Set Powder Blush, and it's supposed to be approximately the same formula as their setting powder. And so I think that this was a really pretty color, the one that they sent to me, and this one is called Long Beach Iced Tea. And unfortunately, this one did crack into a large amount of rubble here in the container, and I think that the issue with this is that it's just kind of on the brittle side. And so I think that if you're going to use this, that it's fine, but I would probably be really, really careful with it and leave it on a shelf or something like that, rather than just putting it in with a bunch of different other makeup that it might get smashed against it. And Urban Decay has a new line of eyeshadow sticks. These are called the Naked Eyeshadow Sticks. They are $25. And they all look like they're kind of neutral or pinky shades or naked shades, I guess. And I am a big fan of eyeshadow sticks, and so that does make me think that I should go and buy one of these and give it a try. And I'm not seeing any ingredients in this that concern me at all, and so that does make me interested in it. And then Victoria Beckham, she used to have a primer, and the primer was in conjunction with Augustina Spada, and I did try that primer, and some people really, really liked that primer, and I thought that it was okay. And the primer seems to no longer be being sold, but there is a new product that is called the Cell Rejuvenating Illuminator, and this is available in 2 sizes for $80 or for $150. And there are 3 shades, and so one is kind of a neutral shade with just a little bit of a shimmer in it, and then there is one that is described as a rosy pink, and one that is described as a warm bronze. And so I'm not sure how different this is than the primer that they used to sell and that I did try. It does look like it's an entirely different ingredient list, so I think it could be very different. When I read the descriptions of it, I think that it seems to me more like it is similar to one of the most popular Dr. Barbara Sturm products, which is their Glow Drops, which are just really shimmery type products that I would wear on a no makeup day to just give my face a little bit of highlighting and a little bit of a glow, and that it does have some positive ingredients in it that could be good for the skin. So I think that that may be what they are going for, but I'm not absolutely sure. And I'm not sure where I can try on Victoria Beckham products because even though they are at Blue Mercury, I haven't seen them in the store yet. But it does have the Augustine's butter peptide in it, and so that does always make me interested in products as long as I'm not going to react to them. And then for a while I've been trying out the Victoria Beckham cleansing product. So this is a two-step process where you use a cleansing oil first and then you use a cleanser to remove the traces of the cleansing oil. And so in the past you could only buy the large size of each bottle, so that was a pretty big investment to give it a try. But they have introduced a travel size, which is 1.69 ounces of each of those products for a total of $75. And I actually do really like that cleanser. The cleanser has a little bit of lactic acid in it, and so I think that this is something that just gives my skin just a little bit of exfoliation and without being overpowering to it, and that my skin is really like that. And my skin is also really like the oil. I think that that is fine. And I think that it's a little bit expensive for a cleansing oil, and I am not sure why it's quite so expensive or what it is about that oil that makes it worth that much money. But I think that my skin seems to be fine with both of those products. And then for the Victoria Beckham eye wardrobe, which is eyeshadow palettes, I picked up this green version earlier this year, and I do really like this. I think this is a very nice palette. I think that all of the other ones that she is offering are much more difficult to wear. I feel like this one has been okay for me, even for everyday use, but that the other shades were all much more like night, evening type shades. And then she introduced a new one that is called Bordeaux, and that one has a lot of reds in it. And so I'm not interested in that at all because I don't feel like I do very well with reds on my eyes, but I feel like that's another one that I would really only wear to get a really dramatic eyeshadow look. And in terms of the satin kajal liners, those are very, very popular for her, and they are $34. And I would be interested in those, but the one that I have has irritated my eyes a bit. But the new shades that she has in her line are the Terracotta, which is earthy matte clay, Orchid, which is a shimmering mauve, and I would love to have that one. That one looks gorgeous. And then Jeans, which is a matte denim blue. And Victoria Beckham also has a new line of brushes, and so I would be interested in hearing from people with regard to how those brushes compare to other more expensive brushes that are on the market. And then Viseart is really well known for their eyeshadow palettes, and so there are 3 palettes that I am kind of interested in, and one of these I have picked up, but I actually haven't tried it yet. I really need to dig into this. I've been a little bit nervous because I have heard some people say that they have had problems with the Viseart palettes irritating their eyes, but this one doesn't look like it has any ingredients in it that are definite no-goes for me, and it definitely doesn't have any aluminum powder in it, so I am looking forward to that one. But the product that I have, this is called the Lawless Lumiere Attendu, so this one has a lot of more lilac-type colors in it, and so this is one that I think was released in the past, and it sold out almost immediately, and so it came back into stock. And so I am going to give that a try. And then there's a couple other ones that also were released, sold out right away, and that are also back into stock. And so these are the Praline Attendu, and that one is more kind of like brownish type shades, more neutrals, but with also some shimmers in it. And then there's also one that is called Paris Matte Étendu, and that one is all mattes, and it does lean into the purples a little bit. And apparently, Viseart is really known for their purples. And pretty much all of these shades do include talc in them, and so that is a little bit concerning, especially for some people. But other than that, I think that the ingredient list looks to me like it should be okay, so I will keep my fingers crossed for me. And then Westman Atelier has been pretty busy this year. They have come out with a number of new products. And so the one that I have really, really liked are their lip liners. I think this one may be one of my favorite lip liners that I have tried. And this comes in a number of different shades. They're all kind of muted. I think that the idea with these is that you're supposed to pick one that is close to the color of your own lips. But I think that some of the other colors, that even if they're not close to the color of my lips, might work out for me. I really like the texture of this, though. I think that it has just a little bit of stickiness to it that makes it a lot easier for me to overline my lips or to have a lip liner on that is going to stay in place pretty well. And I don't think that it's indelible like the Tom Ford one. That one really doesn't go anywhere. But I do think that this has been working really nicely for me. And the shade that I picked up was Petal. And I think that that's not bad with regard to my own lips, but I'm a little interested in experimenting with some of those other shades. And so hopefully these will be at Sephora so I can get a better look in person at the shades. But I do really, really like this one compared to really almost all of the other lip pencils that I have tried. And then Westman Atelier also came out with the line of powder blush duos or powder blush and contour duos. So I picked up this one, and this one has two shades that are ones that I really like in the blush sticks. And so one of those is Mimi, which is this brownish type of a shade. And then there's this one, which is called Coquette, which is a brighter and peach type shade. And I think that these work really well on my skin. And I think that this is a nice powder formula. I don't know that it's my favorite powder formula that I've ever tried. And these are matte. But I do think that this has worked really nicely, and I think that this is actually a really nice compact, and that it is kind of sleek and pretty looking, and the material of the plastic actually feels pretty good in my hands. And so obviously this is really overpriced, but I do think it's a very nice product, and I'm not sorry that I've gotten this. And then since picking this one up, I've looked again at the Sephora at the other shades that they have available, and I actually do really like the one that is called Suede Sable, and that is described as a warm rose and warm tawny. And I feel like that warm tawny is kind of the color of the season, and it's a little bit like the Tower 28, the Long Beach iced tea, and it's a little bit like some of the other blush that I've seen this season. And so I still am really keep being tempted to pick that one up, but $75 is kind of a lot of money, and I'm only kind of moderately feeling good about this particular formula. And then I also picked up these bronzing drops. So these were available in 4 different shades, and I still think you can get them on Credo. Last I saw, these all 4 shades were in stock, but they did sell out really fast on both Sephora and on the Westman Atelier website. So these did turn out to be a lot more popular than maybe some people expected. And this is really the only bronzer that I have liked that has been in liquid form, apart from the Jones Road one. And that these are products that, again, that I will wear when I am not wearing any other foundation. And I do think that this goes on really easily, and that it looks really natural, and it's kind of a foundation substitute in that it gives me a little bit of color and a more of a finished look, but without having anything that looks unnatural at all. I think it does look totally natural on my skin. And so I have the lightest shade in this one, and this is kind of a taupey type shade that has a little bit of a pink in it, which I think is very attractive on my skin. And then one of the most popular shades in the Westman Atelier blush stick is called Petal. And so this year they did come out with a couple of new products that are also in that Petal shade. And so now you can get one of their lit up highlight sticks that is in Petal. So that performs for me more like it is a little bit of a blushy type of a highlighter that I think is really, really pretty. And that is now one of my favorite highlighters of all. And then in addition, one of my favorite products from Westman Atelier are their Squeaky Clean liquid lip balms. And so they did introduce this year a new shade, which is in Petal. And I have really enjoyed that one as well. And then the newest product from Westman Atelier that just was announced a few days ago is the Eye Activator Serum, and this is $120. And so this includes peptides and niacinamide and ceramides and hyaluronic acid. And so I'm a little interested in that, but I haven't had the greatest experiences with the Westman Atelier skincare products that I've tried. And I do have a lot of other eye serums and eye products that I have been really liking. And then last we have YSL, and there have been several new releases from YSL that I have tried out or that I might be interested in trying out. And so first of all, I picked up this product, which is the Hyper Blur Loose Setting Powder, which is $65. And this is available, I think, in 3 regular shades. And then it's available in a pink shade, which is for brightening. And then it's available in this bluish or bluish purple shade that I just picked up because I wanted to give it a try to see what it was like on my skin. And this one I think is still only available on the YSL website, or at least it's not still available on Sephora, but I think the other products are available on Sephora. And I've tried this quite a bit, and I think that is sort of an everyday, ordinary powder that I would use for the same kinds of circumstances that I would use kind of the Kosas powder, something like that. I think this has been fine. I don't think it's very oil absorbing, and I don't feel like I like it even as much as, for instance, the Kosas pressed powder. And so considering that it is $65, I think that this is a pretty pricey powder, and that probably I wouldn't buy this one again if I were starting from scratch. And then upon reflection, one of the oddest releases that I have seen is from YSL, and the reason for that is because there were a huge number of different kinds of blush colors, but that most of the ones that people seem to be really interested in, especially the more muted colors, were not available in the US at all. And so that was very frustrating for many of us, especially those of us who have lighter skin tones. And I did go to Sephora and I tried all of the ones that were available in the first release from the US. And I did feel like really all of them were kind of on the patchy side and that they weren't working very well, at least not on my light skin tone. Except I did like this one. And this one is number 44, which is called Nude Lavalier, and I liked this color in terms of their liquid blush, and I do like this color in terms of the powder blush too. This one does have a significant amount of shimmer in it, and I don't think it's a problem. I think it reminds me quite a bit of the RMS blushes in terms of the amount of shimmer, and I really do like the RMS blushes. But I think if I were going to choose between the two of them, I really like the RMS blushes better. And these do have talc in them, and so that is another reason that some people may find them to be not as appealing. The one shade that I was really interested in was one that I saw in videos that other people were demonstrating, and for a while this was available in Canada, and it was available in the UK, but it wasn't available in the US at all. But finally, Sephora took it upon themselves and managed to get this into stock on the Sephora website. So this is Rose Haze, and this is shade 6. And I do like this one on my skin. I do think that this is a very pretty blush. And I did demonstrate both of these in my most recent video that is on bronzers. And then another frustrating thing from YSL, YSL makes these eyeshadow quads that I really, really like. And so last year I did a video and I demonstrated all of them because I had purchased all of the ones that they had available. And so this year they created 4 new shades, but again, only 2 of those shades are available in the US. So the US shades are Captivating Dunes and Sunrise Safari, and I think that those look fine. But the shade that I really wanted, and one that I think that an awful lot of other people in the US really want, and that they wanted it even before they realized that it was not going to be available here. So the one that I think is really attractive to me is called Unexplored Garden, and then there's also one that is called Majestic Riad, which is less appealing to me. And so I am still hoping that eventually Unexplored Garden will find its way to the U.S. At some point. And in terms of those other shades, I might be interested in picking those up, even though I already have all of those other quads from YSL. But I would kind of like to get those other ones on sale. I don't find those to be as appealing. And then I also saw that a woman named Christy Healy, who is a YouTuber who is from Canada, she managed to get her hands on another YSL quad, which is called Burning Desire, and this is $8.25, and this one does not seem to be available in the U.S. either, and I don't know that I would be as interested in that one. But it does seem to be the case that even though they are making a lot of different versions, getting them to the U.S., even before there were the tariff issues, is not something that YSL seems to be really inclined to do, apparently. And then another brand new release from YSL is their Hyper Luminize Highlighter. And these are $55. They're available in 4 shades, and the shades are Rosy Sand, Lavender Lust, Libertine Light, and Hypnotic Honey. And those seem to only be available on the YSL website, and they are also available on Macy's. And I haven't seen those be coming to Sephora yet or anywhere else. And it looked to me in the few videos that I've seen with those that those do tend to be even more shiny than, for instance, the Nars highlighters. And so I'm not sure if I'm interested in those, but I would be interested in kind of giving them a try. They do not have any synthetic fragrance in them, but they do have what they're calling limetta, which is kind of a lemon type of an extract in them. And so there is a tiny little bit of a scent apparently, but I don't think it's the kind of scent that I would probably react to. And then it also has hyaluronic acid and niacinamide in it. And so I would be interested in trying these out, but I don't know if they're ever going to come to a place where I could actually try them. So thank you very much for watching all the way to the end of the video. And if you have any ideas of products that you think that I should try, either because you would like to see what they are like or because you have already tried them out and you think that they have been good for you and would like to see me give them a try, then please let me know about that. And then in addition, if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, then I hope you will go ahead and do that. And if you like this video, then I hope you will hit like, because supposedly that helps the algorithm. And Coco and I do love you very much, and so I hope things are going well for you. Goodbye. La